Hello, this is Data Intelligence in Practice Group Project. We are Group 4. Our dataset is from FIFA players 2015 to 2023 plus FC24. In our group project, we are going to figure out the data related to a video game called FIFA. FIFA is one of the most popular video games in recent years. Massive players and clubs with various attributes and ratings, which can satisfy a bunch of football lovers around the world. In the whole database, due to there are 10 years version of FIFA from FIFA 13 to FC24, so we decided to focus on the database called Mel Players Legacy 23. Our research question is the relationships between key attributes and overall ratings for strikers across certain nations and leagues. It is because attacker is one of the most important positions to win the game ever, especially in FIFA 23. Also, we want to see what elements and how these elements can affect the market value, as well as the distribution of these distinctive attackers in different nations and leagues. For example, you may know that Salah is one of the strongest attackers in the world in the real life, but in the game he only got 90 overall ratings with 90 pacing, 80 line shooting, and 90 dribbling, etc. So we want to see is there any interesting relationships between the players and their ratings. In this data set, some of the data are relatively important. Firstly, the players' positions. There are 15 different positions across goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and attackers. In our project, we will mainly discuss on strikers. Secondly, players' name, which is included their long name and short name. For example, Salah is not only Mohamed Salah. Next one is the ratings. There are different type of rating and both numerical and non-numerical attributes like shooting ratings and ages of the players. Last but not least, players, nation and leagues. There are more than 100 nations and 13 leagues in this dataset. Okay, so data processing. We will analyze data to answer the research question through 6 different stages. First of all, average overalls of all attacking positions. In this stage, we need the data of players from all positions across every nation and league. In stage 2, we want to figure out average overall rating of strikers from all leagues, so we need the average overall rating of strikers from all leagues obviously, especially the data of La Liga, League One, Premier League, Serie A, and Super League. Third, we want to find out how strikers' overall ratings affect the market value by Europe, so we need to use their overall ratings in game and their market value. Next, try to identify the top attributes for a striker by comparing overall rating to all attributes. So we need all of the subdivided attributes of each statistic of a player. After that, we want to compare top 5 attributes and overall rating for strikers, which are shooting, positioning, finishing, ball control, and reaction. Last but not least, we want to compare the data as previous stage, but this time we mainly focus on French strikers.
This graph shows the average player rating by position. As our question which we are researching specifies only strikers, there can be issues with the data as some strikers play more than one position depending on the formation. An ST striker isn't always used and can be altered to positions like centre forward, left wing and right wing. Such as players like Benzema, who plays centre forward and ST, or Mbappe, who plays left wing and ST. As a result, it's also critical to show the different ratings for players under different positions. Thus, this graph shows the highest average player rating from highest to lowest, with the concentration changing by colour by how many players are playing this position. This can be useful for analysing data as it can give an insight for different positions which players are playing within FIFA and can show how high ranking or high rating they are depending on the position they play, as centre forward having higher ratings compared to a person who is a left wing back. This graph is a box plot which shows the player rating by league for strikers. In this graph, it shows the top 43 leagues within FIFA 23 and the range between the lowest and highest player ratings for strikers. The purpose of this graph is to illustrate how the concentration of strikers between each league differs, thus showing the median, upper and lower interquartile range. This box plot shows there is a higher concentration of strikers within League 1, the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga and Serie A, ergo showing that there is an unequal distribution between other leagues as these 5 leagues are the most popular leagues within men's football, and this is where there is a higher number of strikers. Within the concentration of these top 5 leagues, there is an average median of 75 plus, compared to the other leagues which are below this and have a lower concentration of strikers.
So the average overall rating for strikers in the top 5 leagues are similar to each other, with an average of 70.46 for the 5 leagues. The Liga has the highest overall for the strikers across this selection of 5 different leagues, 72.7. The data was attained by utilising code that enabled for a certain appearance on the graphs, but firstly, the data set was read through pd.read_csv with the correct file path. Then filtering for specific leagues was done by creating a variable selected leagues, whereby a list of the league names was assigned to. This is followed by the creation of a variable filtered underscore data frame. This represents a subset of the original data frame, df, whereby the filtering condition is based on whether value in the league name column is present in the selected leagues list. It hence creates a new data frame which consists of only rows that correspond to the selected leagues, and then after that I filtered for the st underscore df variable, which represents a subset of the original data frame based on the player position being st. And next I found the average scores per league using the data frame st underscore df, and the group by function was used to group the rows of the data frame based on unique values. Then overall was focused on to ensure that the interest is to calculate the average for that data from the overall column, followed by the mean in order to do this. And then the bar plot was utilised so that everything is a different colour and everything looks vivid in appearance and easy to identify the differences. It's clear that the average overall rating for the strikers in a Liga has the highest overall average score at 72.75. So I filtered for La Liga, whereby a Boolean mask was used to check if a string La Liga was equal to the league name, followed by the average overall score being calculated. This was done by finding the mean value. Once again, the average overall scores for strikers in the Liga league has been displayed with the text label clearly next to it. And firstly, like before, I had to load the data set using pd.read_csv. The data had to be filtered so only those players in a league are selected. The creation of a data frame in Liga df was used in order to store the data filtered from the original data frame. A Boolean mask was then used to check if a string of league was equal to the value league name. Then the average overall score had to be retrieved, which was done by calculating the mean value of a selected column overall from average overall score equals the Liga df overall.mean. The bar graph was then created with the correct figure size being 6 and 4, and the data labels were then used to make it very clear as to what the values are.
Think how player rating for strikers are distributed across the different leagues. We wanted to use that data to look at the effect of overall rating across different factors. For example, market value by euro. A scattergraph was created by comparing the overall rating of all strikers, club position, then plotting it against the market value. This data shows that the higher the rating, the higher the value, but it also shows the effect of age on market value by FIFA. One example is how Mbappe is the most valued player at 194 million and with a rating of 91, but Neymar and Messi have a higher rating of 93 but are lower value than Mbappe in the FIFA career mode market. This is likely due to their older age. Another example is the lowest valued player on the market, James Corretto, at 35,000 with a rating of 63. However, the second lowest valued player, Dean Walsh, goes for 45,000, but he has a rating of 50. The difference is that James is 38 while Dean is 22. This data can also be used to make better decisions on how on purchasing strikers in the market and to make sure to also look at overall rating but also look at age too.
Overall rating versus each attributes. We begin by examining the correlation between various attributes of male striker players and their overall ratings. From there, we identified the top 5 attributes that strongly correlate with overall ratings. The scatter graph depicts the correlation between each attribute and the overall rating of all male strikers in the game. From analyzing the dataset, we can see and find the top 5 attributes of all strikers using the correlation values. Here we have the top 5 attributes against the overall rating for male strikers in the game. As we can see, shooting has the highest correlation from the scatter graph with a 0.95. Next, we have mentality, which comes under positioning with a correlation of 0.93. As we move onwards to attacking, in terms of finishing, there's a correlation of 0.93. As we go down to ball control, there's a correlation of 0.92. And finally, in terms of movement under reactions, there's a correlation of 0.95. These attributes have a significant impact on the overall rating of male striker players in FIFA 23. We created the scatter graphs to visualize the relationship between the overall ratings of male striker players and each of the top 5 attributes, as you can see from the results below. As expected, there's a strong correlation between each of the top 5 attributes and the overall ratings of male striker players. This indicates that attributes such as shooting, positioning, finishing, ball control, and reactions significantly contribute to a striker's overall performance rating in FIFA 23. Finally, we looked at the overall ratings against each of the top 5 attributes for strikers who come under a French nationality. From the correlation calculations, the top attributes for French strikers is shooting with a 0.95 correlation. As we can see, this is similar to the overall correlation for shooting in terms of all male players on FIFA 23. Next, we narrowed our focus and we wanted to determine if there was any notable differences in the correlation between their attributes and overall ratings compared to the general data sets of the original scatter graphs that I created for just male players. As we can see, there's a positive correlation that if you have a higher overall rating, your shooting, your finishing, mentality, positioning, skill, ball control, and movement in terms of reaction will all increase or be at a high value due to your player rating. Interestingly, when analyzing French nationality striker players specifically, we found that the correlation values remain consistently high across the board. Although there were slight variations, the top 5 attributes still strongly correlated with the overall ratings for French nationality strikers. These findings suggest that the relationship between attributes and overall ratings hold true regardless of the nationality. However, further research could explore whether there are any specific attributes that French nationality strikers excel in compared to other counterparts.
The analytics shown in the previous slide reveal significant insights into the problem identified in the beginning. Firstly, the average overall ratings for male strikers in the top 5 leagues were examined. Secondly, for market value, the correlation graph demonstrates a linear relationship between market value and ratings given. However, it also shows that age is taken into consideration when ratings are given to players, meaning older age has a negative effect on market value. Next, the scatter graph shows the correlation between overall ratings and individual attributes for strikers. This scatter graph identified the top 5 attributes as shooting, positioning, finishing, ball control, and reactions. Specifically, for French strikers, the correlation graph shows the most influential attribute is shooting. So to conclude, the analytics given in slides effectively addresses the problem identified in the beginning, as it shows the nuanced connections between overall ratings, attributes, and market value, while also showing the dynamic striker evaluations across different leagues and nations.